right? Like if it comes from your behind, you don't want anything from your behind going in your mouth or your eye or any other part of, for that matter. That's why we use what's called, right, hygiene. And we're gonna get into hygiene in a little bit. He's the good guy, and you're gonna like him because he wears a cape just like Superman. And you've met him before. You meet him every day. So, right now, okay. Another thing I like to discuss is how, right? Oh God, I'm thinking about what you told me on Saturday. You just like, oh gosh. It just doesn't have to do from, it doesn't have to do with our privates, all right? Some other parts of our bodies also have different types of bacteria. And those bacteria could come from between your toes. If you see this is somebody's foot. We all have a foot. I mean, come on.
And we got a foot.
Right? We got a foot.
Yeah, foot.
So, all right, for instance, you're not going to pick on your toes after you've been playing basketball or volleyball all day, right? Yeah. And then you're going to, like, lick your finger.
Lick a finger.
That's gross. Right? Yeah. Oh, that's another thing. You can, if you have any questions, I'll stop and you can ask the question and I'll be more than happy to answer it. Because that's what I'm here for. Okay? Yeah.
Like, if you wear some shoe and too tight, you actually turn into black.
Well, that would be a different situation, but that would have to be, it's more medical, okay? Because for instance, some people may have a diabetic situation and they're not they can't have something too tight because of their circulation, but that's not for today. Yeah, so now.
I'm telling him you're diabetic. No, he's a diabetic.
Yeah, so you have to.
That's why he's asking.
Yeah. Diabetes is something that, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but if you follow your doctor's instructions, you will live a very long time just like anybody else. It just means that the sugar in your body is not assimilated as well as an average person. Okay? So, all right, so another thing we can discuss, all right, is the good bacteria. We have good bacteria. Okay, we do, right? Even though bacteria is bad, right? We also have bacteria, right? That's very friendly to us. And I'm going to talk to you about those, okay? This is bad bacteria, bad, right? And this is good. Okay, now the reason why we need good bacteria is because our body depends on a little bit of help. And I can give you a perfect example of good bacteria. Okay, good bacteria lives inside of our intestines. When we eat food, our body depends on this guy to allow us to be able to get the best out of food and digest it better and eliminate it as well. Unfortunately, when we're eliminating, he's around. So, you know what eliminating is when we do poo-poo. That's why when we do poo, it's important that we wash our hands so that we don't put it in our mouth or eyes and then it'll go inside your body and crash with this guy and hurt this guy. Because this guy can hurt and will hurt this guy, and that is what makes us sick inside our body. Okay? So that's why we got to have a balance. And the way we do this is by doing a few things on a daily basis. Like the first thing you do in the morning, what's the first thing you do before you eat?
Brush your teeth.
Right, you brush your teeth. Because during the night, we've had bacteria walking all inside our gums and our teeth, right?
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Because they were doing their work. The problem is that the bacteria, the good bacteria, left some leftovers that are no good to us, so we have to get rid of it. Right, so that's another thing we can do. We can shower. Because when we shower, we spoke about those other bacteria that are in our bodies that reward us with a bad smell.
Deodorant.
Okay, and I'm going to tell you a little story about smell. Did you know that when we were cavemen it was actually very good to smell bad. You didn't know that? Yeah. Yeah, when we used to look like this guy,
Smell.
okay?
Okay.
Nice. When we used to look like this guy with the club in his hand, remember the club?
Yeah.
Alright, cavemen always have a club. When we used to look like that guy, the only way to let someone you like know that you was healthy and you were strong and you was the perfect boy or girl to make a family with was with a strong odor. Alright? That has a different name. It's known as hormones. Yes, hormones.
Hormones.
Right. Unfortunately, hormones is also associated with bacteria and smell. So we don't need that anymore. We don't use that anymore. But when we used to look like this millions of years ago, it was good to actually smell bad. But to us, it's bad. To them, it was good. Yeah.
And guess what? Animals will start running.
I wish.
When you go outside, are you gonna do it? Don't put your gym on there.
Cat will say, "Brown." Cat will say,
Brown.
Okay. Okay. Good point. But we'll talk about that in a bit. So it was actually very good to smell bad, because it let other people know that you were the big boss. You were the strongest one. So I guess that's the way cavemen work out. But unfortunately, now our day and age, I mean, you wouldn't be too happy right now sitting here if I was smelling like a caveman.
No.
Right. So I mean, which is nothing wrong there's nothing wrong with being a caveman, because cavemen are no different than we are. They look just like us. They have, albeit a little bit more hair and stuff, but the smell was overwhelming. You don't want to. You would not be too happy right now here if I was a caveman, because right now, you wouldn't be able to bear it. Trust me. So, and the bacteria that I would have at the time was not harmful for me at that time, because our body was adjusted in such a way that this guy right here, right, didn't bother him as much.
Wow.
Because he had more of these guys that kept these guys in check. But as we modernized and we became modern people, which is what we are today, see, we wear clothes, right? Right? We know we have a certain way of behavior, right? We behave differently, right? Because we have to be dressed. We're not going to go without clothes out in the street, because then you get in trouble. Right? Yeah, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. And we also have different boundaries. That's called boundaries. Right? So, yeah, so he had more of these guys that kept this guy in check and so forth. But now, since we're modernized, right, we rely on other things to be able to handle this guy a little bit better. All right? And we already discussed what is it that we do to prevent him from overpowering us, which is, of course, brushing, bathing. Sometimes we may use what to smell good? What do we use? Deodorants. Right?
Perfume.
Right? Cologne, perfumes, right? Right? We shave. Right? See? I shave my coconut, right?
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, we could also get germs on our hair if we're not too careful, because we can get lice or some other stuff.
I wash my hair.
Of course, and I can tell. All right? So, yeah. Huh? Yeah, that too. Right. So, we have different ways of dealing with the bacteria, because we're smarter.
Yeah.
We're smarter than this guy. All of us in this room are way smarter than this guy.
Wow.
Okay? Way smarter. We're beyond. I mean, if we were to beat him, we would take a time machine and go back in time. Any one of us that meets him is going to think that we're magic, because we're so smart. We know things that he could never know, that would take millions of years for him to understand. So It's like meeting an extraterrestrial. I mean, some people believe in that stuff. I don't know. Maybe they are extraterrestrial. Maybe I'm one. I don't know, but so yeah. So that's the thing, and so that's essentially now we have, since we have not as much as this guy because of our day and age where we live in, and we've gotten a little bit weaker, although we've gotten smarter. It doesn't necessarily mean that we've done the right, smart thing. So we have to rely now on things like this guy, right, Mr. Super Soap, right? Right? All right, Soap Man. Right? This is the guy that's, he helps keep us clean and stuff.
Where you going?
With his cape. Pay attention. You gotta pay attention. All right. Yeah, we rely on Super Soap. We rely on Mr. Super Shampoo guy or gal. Let's call her gal, And let's Supergirl shampoo, type girl. We need these guys, right, to help keep this guy in check, because we know some of us no longer have enough of these guys to keep him in check, and that's known as diseases. So we don't want to get sick. No. We don't want to get a disease. We want to try and stay as healthy as possible. Yeah. So we follow instructions. We brush our teeth so we don't get gingivitis. He can give us gingivitis.
Bad turn.
That's a terrible thing.
Oh, go.
Our teeth will get like real ugly and yellow, and
white.
Our gums will hurt. They can turn black. We get cavities and a toothache. Oh, doesn't it hurt? Who's ever had a toothache?
The dentist.
Has anybody had a toothache?
No.
Oh man, if you have, give him thanks for it, because he's responsible. It hurts. He did it.
He did it.
He tried to help you, but I mean, you wasn't giving him enough, tools with Mr. Toothpaste, which is her close best friend. So we gotta try and brush at least twice a day, in the morning and before we go to bed, so that we can have healthy choppers. So that's one of the things we gotta do. You gotta talk a little louder.
What is that?
Well, you don't want to scrub it hard. No, because you yourself know how you're gonna brush. You're not gonna just jam your brush in there and hurt yourself in the gum, because if you stab yourself in the gum with the toothbrush, it's gonna hurt.
It's got bleed more.
If you're scratching and you scratch too hard, it's gonna hurt. And when you do that, he's gonna be waiting, because he can go in through there too. He's not gonna give you a break. He does not play.
I know that.
That's why if you get cut, that's another thing. Even though that's another subject for another, in the medical thing. So don't ever forget this guy, because he's around.
I know.
Okay, so you got to be careful with that guy. So you got to make sure that we have to be clean. We have to, if you're touching something, if you're in a subway, you're touching the handrail so you don't fall, you get off at your stop, you forget, and you oh man, what a day. You just put this guy in your mouth inside.
Oh.
So that's why when we go to the subway, don't touch your face. Don't put your fingers in your mouth. Don't scratch your eye with your finger or take out your eye boogers, because you what you're doing is you're cross-communicating. You're cross-contaminating, right? You're putting all these germs that other people left there inside yourself, and then voila, you got a pink eye, you got a serious eye infection, you get a cold, you get the flu, God knows what you're gonna get, right? You don't want to mess with, you'd be miserable. You don't want to walk around with all that stuff, right?
No.
Oh no, God heavens, no. So we gotta be, strong. We gotta show ourselves. You don't have to prove it to no one. You prove it to yourself, because that's what makes you special. That's what makes you feel happy. Nobody likes to be told what to do, right?
Yeah.
Who likes to be told what to do? I don't like to be told what to do, especially if you already know how to do it, right? So why we don't do it? We have to do it because we know how, right? Why must we we be reminded how to use soap and bacteria and antibacterial. We know how to do that. We can take care of ourselves. We gotta prove to the world that we can do it, right?
Yeah.
Because we're smart enough,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
We may be a little forgetful sometimes.
Yeah.
I forget all the
use,
time. That's perfectly normal.
Bacterials. If you wash your hands, you have to use one of these things.
Exactly.
The soaps.
Exactly.
You never know what's in the doorknob.
Right? Another thing is, if you're shaking hands, it doesn't mean you're not going to shake hands with someone, because it's always, people like to be, feel friendship, right?
Yeah.
It's warm. It lets you know when you shake somebody else's hand, right, that that person is genuinely your friend, that feels something good towards you and you towards them. But assuming one day you see your friend, oh, how you doing?
I think.
Are you gonna shake the hand?
No.
Why? Why is that?
Bacteria.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a couple of these guys that came out of my nose, and then I'm gonna shake your hand. You're gonna forget you touched my hand, and you're gonna pass it on like a hot potato, and before you know it, the whole class has a cold.
No.
Algae.
Right? So that's one to grow on. So what could you tell me so far? There's no right or wrong questions.
Bacteria is deadly and
It could be. It's not deadly, but it can be.
it can be.
It has potential to be deadly, but it has
The
even
virus.
more so potential to make us,
But
feel
the
ill.
virus could spread.
Well, a virus is a different form of, it's very, I really have to do my research in order for me to approach you with that. It's a little bit more advanced.
I did
even
research
for
on
me,
the
so.
virus. People
Huh?
died from that. They got sick over it.
You can die of certain viruses, but not all. But because some viruses are actually good, I don't have the name for them, but there are some that are very helpful. There are some that are not. Okay. So, what else can we learn about this gentleman over here?
The bacteria.
Right. Right. So the best thing is to avoid them at all costs, right?
All cold.
And learn how to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Better care of ourselves. We don't need anybody to tell us, right?
No.
Right?
Nope.
Because we're smart enough to know that we have to be, we have to keep our body temple clean. Right? Okay. So, is there anyone else that would like to add anything? You.
Happy.
Do animals
Huh?
not?
Happy.
No.
You're happy?
Yeah.
I'm happy that you happy.
Do animals
That's
have?
contagious.
Do
I hope we
animals
get to
have
run,
nose?
spread it around.
Baseball cap.
Huh?
Do they have nose? Animals, and they can smell anything.
Animals.
Who has a nose? Animals?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Like
My
cats.
dog has a nose.
A cat
Oh,
has
dog.
a nose.
Yes.
What color?
You like the nose?
Yeah, they cute little
A
noses.
cute little nose, right?
Yeah.
You.
It's Charles.
Huh?
Her name Charles.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
You got a
Huh? Don't worry about the